welcome. We are all practicing the power of now, and so we are not waiting for the next moment, for the speaker to speak, or what the next thing is that he's going to say. Except for one or two minds that I can hear that are saying, "Come on, let's get on with it." Now the fact that I'll be speaking for a while may create the misleading expectation or impression that I'm here to fill your mind with more stuff. More content, information, knowledge, words. And if you have that expectation, in other words, if you expect the talk to be interesting, then you may walk out after 10 or 20 minutes. What do you mean, not interesting? Interesting means food for thought. That's an interesting thought. I don't quite agree with it, but there are deeper things in life than interesting. Deeper things in yourself than what's interesting to the mind, to thinking. But most people haven't found that dimension within themselves. They are stuck in interesting, and if you're stuck in interesting, you're also stuck in boring, because a lot of the time life isn't that interesting. And then you're looking for the next interesting thing to fill your mind. A sunrise is not interesting. It can't be called interesting. It's vaster and deeper than that. But if you had a few interesting little clouds blocking the sun, that might be called interesting. Oh, look at these interesting little clouds. So the talk here is not to fill your mind with more stuff. You can go to many places for that, universities, the internet, television. Everywhere they are filling your mind with more stuff, information, knowledge and pseudo-knowledge, theories, beliefs, standpoints, positions. So if this talk doesn't work on that level, how does it work? Is the talk going to work on the emotional level? Is the speaker in a moment going to jump up and down the stage to create an emotional high in you? And when you get home, you've reached the low already. No, it doesn't work on that level either. Because the speaker is uncharismatic. And it's a miracle that so many people come to listen to an uncharismatic speaker. That means there must be something real going on. And what else could this be? Is it entertainment? That's another way. Some talks are entertaining. Not really. There may be occasional laughter. So these three levels I mentioned, the mental level of information or knowledge, the emotional level, or the entertainment level, they may be present here in small doses. I remember, for example, my first talk in Holland 2 years ago happened to be very funny. I don't know why. Everybody laughed a lot, including myself. So there must have been some element, entertaining element there. But that's only a small fraction of why we are here, of what this evening is about. So if it's none of these things, or not primarily any of these things, why are we here? You are here to try out, and I use simple terms because it is so simple, to try out a different level of consciousness from the normal. And many of you have already tried it out. And quite a few of you perhaps already live, at least partly, in that different state of consciousness. From the normal state, which is a state of continuous, incessant thought activity. The compulsion to think, to interpret everything, to label everything, to judge everything immediately, and to perceive everything through the veil or the screen of thought activity. That's the normal way to live. It's so normal that most people don't even know that that is how they live. Because everybody lives like that. Everybody they see on TV lives like that. But in many human beings now, the ability is developing, is arising, a newfound ability, and that is to step out of the movement of thought. If only for a moment. Time doesn't matter there. And there's a moment of simple, alert attention. So the secret of our evening together, the only thing that ultimately matters here, I'm telling you this now in case you have more important things to do, you can go home early. To find in yourself the ability to be conscious without thought. Oh. And the mind says, Can you explain a bit more? I know that many of you are ready to hear this. There are many audiences to whom I would not put this so directly, because they would not be ready for it. It would be a shock and half the audience would walk out. Now the mind says, what's such a big deal about conscious without thought? I don't want to become a vegetable. Or a tree, or a stone, or even an animal. Because they are conscious in their own way, but they don't have conceptual thought activity. They are not burdened with continuous mental noise. They are present in the now. And they don't inhabit a world of problems. Their life does not consist of one damn thing after another. Churchill's definition of history. Of course, he was right. But history is not just history that's one damn thing after another. Your own life. You may have noticed something works out here very well and then something goes wrong there. But the heaviness of living, yes, life is challenging even for an animal, even for a tree. There's nothing wrong with challenging. But humans have something else. There is a heaviness to human existence, especially in these times. A weariness, almost as if every human being carried a burden. It's the burden of themselves, ultimately. It's also perceived, of course, as the burden of my life. One damn day after another. And many people wake up in the morning, open their eyes, for a moment, are conscious without thought, and look at the light coming through the window. And for a moment, they sense an aliveness. For a moment, it's good to be alive. They touch what one could call being. Just to be is very sweet. And after a few moments, a few seconds, the first thought comes in. And already a weight comes. And it'll be either something that happened yesterday, or more likely, something that's going to happen today. And that leads to the next thought. Oh yeah, and that. Oh no, and that. All these today, oh my God, I've got to get on with it. Come on, let's go. And then switch on the TV and listen to the problems of the world. And then you get in the car and then you're in the traffic jam. And already the weight, the heaviness has descended. And millions upon millions live in that way. How can you live in this world if all of that millions live in that way? How can you live differently? Is not that almost impossible? Well, the mind may be telling you that. Surely you can't. You have so many things to deal with every day. Surely you can't expect me to be in a different state of consciousness. I've got things to deal with every day. I've got responsibilities. You are okay. You are a spiritual teacher. You've got nothing else to do. I sometimes listen to people angrily defending their right to be unhappy. And yet, underneath the heaviness that lies on top of you, there is something else. It's so close, you can't measure it. Ultimately, the heaviness is the stream of thinking that you mistake for yourself, that you are so identified with that it becomes a sense of me thinking. I am the thought that I am thinking at this moment. That is what life is like for most people. I am, it's an unconscious belief that I am this thought. I'm so much in this thought that I am the thought. You could say the thought has self in it. The thought, every thought that arises takes you over, grips you completely. And then the next and the next, accompanied by emotions that correspond to those thoughts. Fearful thought, fearful emotion. Fearful emotion creating further fearful thoughts. Lying awake in bed at night. Oh my God. How am I ever going to get out of this? Get me out of here. Out of myself. I saw a cartoon the other day, two men speaking in an office, one man looking very grim and saying to the other man, I'm sick and tired of being chained to myself 24 hours a day. The usual expression is chained to my desk, but he's chained to myself 24 hours a day. I live with this thought-made, mind-made entity. That's a form of collective conditioning for humanity. Everybody inherits that. Thousands of years of conditioning of the human mind, of identifying increasingly more and more with mind activity and a sense of self derived from a mental concepts of who I am, that I need to revive in my mind.